Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Why Phil Jackson being out actually isn't great for Carmelo Anthony. We'll do that next segment, a little bit later this hour. We'll do some life advice. We have an open segment, right? So we'll break it up a little bit. Hoops, life advice. This hour, Will Cain, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. I want to remind everybody this Saturday exclusively on ESPN and ESPN Deportes, it's the Battle of Brisbane. Manny Pacquiao will defend his WBO welterweight title live as he aims for his 60th career win, facing Australia's undefeated #1 world-rated contender. That is Jeff Horn. The Battle of Brisbane this Saturday, July 1st at 10 Eastern, exclusively on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. So we know Chris Paul is going to be a Houston Rocket. He opted in instead of opting out, which is what everybody thought he would do. And when he was going to opt out, I go, is he really going to leave all that money on the table? Well, he opts in, forces a trade, 1-year contract with the Rockets. He can sign a 5-year extension. He can keep all of his money. Like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. And then you go, okay, well, what is it, though, about the Rockets? You know, Harden, like, what's he going to be doing with James Harden when James Harden just decides to not play defense on anybody and it's a tight game? Because that's, like, you can not like Chris Paul. Chris Paul is playing defense. Harden, I don't know. Are they such good friends that they feel like they're just going to work this whole thing out? Because I would say Paul's not the easiest guy to play with, and I don't mean that as a knock on his game. It's just he's going to let you know. So Michael Eaves, who's covered this team for a long time, does a bunch of L.A. stuff, is one of our anchors, posted this on Facebook. He says, here's some information. First, the micro. Paul's relationship with Doc Rivers started to deteriorate rapidly after the Clippers acquired Austin Rivers. Several members of the team felt Austin act entitled because his dad was both the coach and the president of basketball ops. In the view of the tenured players, Austin Rivers never tried to fit in, and when players tried to address the situation with him, he still did not respond the way the core of the team wanted him to. It led to resentment within the locker room, which often played out during games. One of Paul's biggest contentions with Doc was that Paul and other players felt Doc treated Austin more favorably than other players. He would yell at guys for certain things during games and practices, but not get on Austin in the same manner for similar transgressions.
All right, so number one, Michael Eaves, this is an incredible post on Facebook that he has.
This is what he's saying, right?
This is what he is saying, Michael Eaves. Number one, the problem there is essentially nepotism, that Doc was giving favorable treatment to his son, Austin.
I'm surprised that Doc, and the knocks against Austin, there were people telling you like he didn't even belong in the league. Yes, he's overpaid. Yes, he can be annoying to watch play. He's an NBA player. You can hate him, but he's good enough to play in the league.
But apparently Chris Paul felt like, according to Michael Eaves, that Austin Rivers was not held at the same standard the rest of the team was.
That's why I don't even know why you'd want to put yourself in that position. Why would you want to put yourself in that position if you were Doc, going, I know that this can bother other people? Because when the nepotism thing happens, like, people will find excessive reasons to be bothered by it that maybe aren't even legitimate.
No, it undercuts every sense of being able to earn something and that this is a meritocracy that you could ever have. And so every team member is going to go, what do I have to do here?
So then, as this post continues from Michael Eaves, and this is, again, him saying these things, but what really solidified the dissatisfaction was a proposed trade involving Carmelo Anthony last season. New York offered up Melo, Sasha Vujacic to the Clippers in exchange for Jamal Crawford, Paul Pierce, and Austin Rivers, a deal to which Rivers, ultimately Doc, said no to. That event led Paul to feel that keeping Doc's son Austin on the roster was more important to Doc than improving the team. So, ultimately, Paul lost both trust and faith in Doc, and as one league executive put it, quote, Chris despises Doc. And then Michael Eaves is saying he was just told that when Chris Paul met with the team to inform them of his plans, Jerry West wasn't even there, and it was Doc and Lawrence Frank.
All right, so for Michael Eaves' second point, we've all wondered all along, Carmelo Anthony seems like a logical landing spot the Clippers seem like a logical landing spot for Carmelo Anthony, and apparently we aren't the only ones who thought so. The Knicks thought so as well. If this proposed trade and rumored trade is real, and if, in fact, the Clippers did turn down that trade, what I'm looking at on paper right now, I would have the same reservations Chris Paul did. I would say, whoa. This deal doesn't make sense for us?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to look at this and say, okay, the Austin stuff, and this isn't like, okay, what do you believe what Eve said? What do you not believe?
I'm laying out. Right, this is Eve's case he's laying out.
Yeah. Why would you not do the Melo deal? I mean, you're getting him for free, basically. And Austin is signed, so you can't do the thing where it's like, well, we don't want Melo's. You may not want Melo's contract on the books, but you're able to add Melo, and we all sit there and say he's not the answer, but
that deal makes sense, Ryan. That's what you're saying. The deal makes so much sense. You're having a hard time believing that L.A. would turn it down, and the answer being suggested here is because of the nepotism, is because of Austin Rivers.
The other answer could be that Melo's owed $60 million.
Yeah, well, that's not what's said here. That could be an answer why this trade deal wasn't done.
I'm just trying to figure, instead of reading this post and going, wow, Doc's the worst. Nepotism.
No. I think it's
my gosh. I'm trying to find ways to do this, but even if Austin could play a little bit, I wouldn't want to do that as a head coach. I wouldn't, because I'd be afraid of this kind of stuff happening. And this happened. And was this really the reason Chris Paul is a Houston Rocket today? You know how bad that makes that organization look?
Well, he gives 3 points. These are the first two, and I think the third is actually the most compelling.
Okay.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
The macro case for why this deal went down. This is Michael Eves on Facebook. This move was a win-win for Chris Paul, and it was all part of a master plan. By opting into the final year of his current contract and pressuring the Clippers to trade him to Houston, Paul's in the exact same situation next summer. He can re-sign with the Rockets for 5 years, $200 million, or sign a 4-year deal for about $150 with another team. In addition, he's going to save several $1 million in state income taxes, a little cherry on top here.
Well, the millionaire tax in California is ridiculous. So, what are you, 13.5% out there for state income tax? That's what it is.
Yeah, Texas, 0. So what Eves is saying here,
you'll have to worry about that with First Take if you guys ever move it
to Texas. There's so many things to laugh about in that statement. I
got it for you. Don't laugh too hard.
That's right.
Chris,
not too hard. But read that the last paragraph is the real kicker. By being committed to the Rockets for only one season, it gives him a year to see if he can actually coexist with James Harden, if they can make that work. But even beyond that, this gives Paul more flexibility to join LeBron James in 2018. If he stayed in LA and signed the max deal with the Clippers and forced to sign them to sign with the Rockets, Paul and LeBron would only be able to join forces in one location.
So you're still going with the...
Now they'll be able to do it wherever they want.
He'll leave all this money on the table, though.
No. It's just, he has an optionality now.
No, look, I understand this. I've been explaining this for 2 hours.
Right.
Okay? But what you're telling me is if you believe that he'll just be free agent and go banana boat with all these dudes, then eventually, like at some point, the extension with the Birds' rights has to kick in. And maybe he does just leave all this money. The weird... unintended consequence of these new salaries and the salary cap jumping the way it has, Will, is that maybe the money is so, and I don't want to call it absurd or insane as if it's negative. It's good. I'm glad these guys are making this much money. People that don't like I've never understand people getting mad at players' salaries. Because like, what do you want? The owner to make more? What are you rooting for, Ballmer? That you're going to poster a Ballmer at home? Like, I love your 60-40 revenue split. That's awesome. Like, what are you doing? So if you start making north of $30 million, maybe these players are going, the money is so much bigger now, I can leave it on the table. But I still...
No, you know what? I've heard this in business. Nobody likes losing money.
I know. So then this theory that he's just going to bounce after a year, it's probably more likely he signs the extension with the Rockets. But I don't know. Look, we've been wrong on this, that he's even here. We thought, at least we were reporting at ESPN, that he wasn't going to opt in, that he was going to opt out and become a free agent, and that's like, okay, so he's not going to leave that money on the table, and then here you go. Chris Paul has tweeted out, by the way, quote, unbelievable amount of emotions right now. I don't even know what to say. Lots of love and tears. I'm so blessed and thankful for the ability to play this game. This is the part that no one can prepare for. So let's stay on that Melo thing, but I need to tell you about the Melo part of the Phil Jackson deal today. Everybody goes, Melo must be thrilled. Well, he shouldn't be. And I'll tell you why with Will Cain next, the Russillo Show at ESPN Radio. Life advice to break it up a little bit here on a Wednesday, hump day. Who says that at the office? That guy's awesome. The Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. We got Will Cain with us. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We'll do life advice. So we did, I think, only 2 non-NBA segments, but we got one more for you. Reminding you can listen to all 3 hours of the show on your phone, on your ESPN app or Apple Podcast. Super easy. Sometimes rental car. You don't want to pay the $8 for their radio fee, and then you just ESPN app it, connect to the Bluetooth in the car. You're stealing content right there, but it's approved. Melo should not be in a good move today.
All right.
Yeah, Phil's out. The Wicked Witch is dead. How about last week when I told you what that assistant GM told me? I go, what's up with Porzingis? And it feels like this was sort of a public shaming of a young kid, and that got to Phil's ego. And the assistant GM was like, once egos get involved, and it's Phil Jackson, Porzingis and his crew played this right. They made him mad, no exit interview. He decides to start like kicking around the idea of even trading him. And even if Phil didn't want to, it felt like sort of an embarrassment, which I know you fought against. I kind of understood your point, but it was just this, why would you do this? Why would you do this? But Melo was the guy that got criticized all the time. Melo was the one, he was the target of Knicks fans' angst. And the iron, this has helped your Phil position. Phil started pointing out a lot of the stuff about Melo's game that everybody already was complaining about, and that somehow when Phil said it, it was bad. Classless. Be a better leader. Now, Phil could have been a better leader. You know, he could have kept all this stuff in-house. But I just found that very ironic that all of the complaints that I'd heard all the time about Melo, the basketball player, Phil confirms them. And then it's like, how dare he? We have a real hard time with people, especially like people in management, saying something about people that are not in management. That's just kind of an aside. But guess what? If they're not good again next year, Melo's still on this roster, making almost $30 million a year, he's going to be right back to where he was. Phil was hired to be the insulation for Dolan, when really Phil has been the insulation for Melo, and now he doesn't have it anymore. Yeah,
I feel like you're helping me. Should I ever get into a debate about Phil Jackson ever again?
Do you want to go back? Are you going to pitch it tomorrow the first? I still have some stuff, some meat on the bone with Phil.
Got a little more here. I'm going to defend mediocrity if I can. If you think about my Phil position, that's the real upside. Like, if I win every debate, I've won defending mediocrity. Because my real point is he wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad.
You're going transaction by transaction, not that bad. I feel like people that are around the Knicks organization say it's just a dumpster fire. And, you know, look, your original point is that it starts at the top, though.
Okay, so this is where I want to respond to you in two ways. First of all, this whole, like, Phil mind games with Carmelo and how that backfired against him. It's interesting. I read a report that this is the same stuff Phil did when he was with the Bulls and Lakers. Same stuff. Played mind games, sold players out through the press. The difference there was he was the coach and he was around those players on a daily basis. So he could establish and maintain a personal relationship with everybody that could overcome the little games he played to undercut them on a daily basis. But once he was up in that high executive office and his presence wasn't there on a daily basis, all they had was that. All they had was the slights in the media reports. They didn't have any relationship with him to smooth those out. So, I mean, that's a legit criticism of Phil, that he did the same things he did as a coach, but he wasn't in the same circumstance that he was as a coach. As for your Carmelo point, this I feel like is playing right to what I've been saying. You are now back to where you started. A, with Carmelo, and B, with Dolan. You removed Phil. What did you really win? You're back to that place you were when you're bellyaching about Carmelo ISOing up, running 20 seconds off the clock, and an owner that's just a lesson in dysfunction. That's where you are today.
Today, it's not good. It's not. I can't do a counter to the Phil position that no, everything's great because Dolan is still there.
No, we don't have to do the Phil thing. You're right, though, on the Carmelo point. It's back on him.
I kept seeing all these gifs, and everybody's like, "Oh, Melo must be pumped." Well, he doesn't like Phil. That was obvious. And, you talk to like a Frank Isola and you say, like, what's going on over there? And be like, Phil will show up to the practice facility and the players all just collectively roll their eyes. Like, you can't have that in year 3 of this team where you go, just no one respects him, no one gets it. And you know what else he did? And Andrew Sharp of Sports Illustrated, who we've had on a bunch, he used to be back at Grantland. He's so good on hoops. Read his piece on Sports Illustrated because he nails this. Because the other scary thing for Phil is that he became old. And what you don't want to do, like sometimes I read stuff about just how people are thinking about things differently. Because the worst thing you can become is somebody that only thinks your way is the right way. Like the guy that you talk to that says, drones, groceries, that's stupid. Give me an old-fashioned shopping cart for my wares. Well, guess what, man? In a few years, you're going to forget the asparagus. And then Whole Foods is going to have a little robot with a little blade on the top, and he's going to drop off that asparagus to us. So that's going to be normal. Like, don't sit there and go, that's stupid. And Phil Jackson did that. He did that with basketball. He got old in the job and would joke about three-pointers and keep trying to get people to play an offense that no one really even understood anymore. So I think that that's a big part of his blame, and that you can be so accomplished that you become so arrogant that you literally don't listen to anything. And when you stop listening because you're so secure in yourself, you're really opening yourself up for failure. That's why I still read The Atlantic.
Nah, I can't hear you. I don't know what you're talking about.
You love this.
I'm sorry. I stopped listening.
At what point did you stop listening? How about when I shared that fact with you yesterday?
A long time ago.
Okay.
Like years.
So you think...
No, I'm joking.
I know you are, but like when I shared that piece with you of information yesterday, I thought it was the most amazing thing I've seen in weeks.
Loved it.
Okay?
Loved it.
There's a study right now that iPhones have ruined an industry that you would never really figure out. Okay?
Okay.
I'm really, really building this up. Think about what you do with your phone. I almost blew out an MCL the other day just looking at my phone because I didn't see a curb. Gum sales have gone down like 20, 30% since the iPhone's inception. Why? Because when you go to check out at the grocery store, before we get drones, you look at your phone. You don't look at gum anymore. You don't look at the magazine that says what she wants to tell you but's afraid to say. We don't look at the before and after pictures of Kirstie Alley. We look at our phones, and now gum sales are tanking.
I really do find that fascinating.
I do too. And Phil Jackson's like, gum schmum.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Would you rather have a beer with the guy that's like 3-pointers? Stupid. When I go to the grocery store, you know what I use? A grocery cart. Would you rather have a drink with that guy or the guy who's first all in on the drones? Hey, man, have you heard about this new app? Awesome. I know my answer. What's yours?
I'd rather have the first guy I'd rather have a beer with. I'd rather have the second guy running my NBA franchise.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But I want to have a beer with the first.
No, because then first guy on everything, he's kind of the worst sometimes too. By the
way, that guy doesn't make money either. Real quick, we got to go. KKR, famous venture capital firm, never be first. Always be second. Never be first. Never be MySpace. Never be Friendster. That's actually 1 and 2. Be Facebook, 3. Don't be number 1. They lose money.
That Chaos Monkeys book that I read on Facebook, it's a great... If Facebook were sports, if Facebook were Phil, like they go through Zuckerberg's mistakes, and there's a ton of them. But guess what? No one cares when you invented Facebook. Like you go around and be like, why would you think that app would work? That was a stupid idea. Dumb. Doesn't matter. Like that should cancel
Mark
it
Cuban
out.
said life and business are a volume shooting business. Antoine Walker would be a great venture capitalist.
We're just kind of rambling, but I think that was some really good stuff you guys just got. So give yourself a round of applause for listening that long. All right, life advice. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Russillo Show, ESPN Radio.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
We got life advice for you with Will Cain, the Russillo Show. It's ESPN Radio. Busy day today, man. Lot of stuff. You wake up. Actually, we went to bed last night. We had a few tricks up our sleeves, but then Phil Jackson gets fired and Chris Paul is traded to the Houston Rockets all in one day. If you miss anything, please subscribe to the Russillo Show podcast. Leave a comment. And let's do this, though. We'll take a little break from it. Life advice.
I would just walk in and go, what's the plan, bro?
Why are you sleeping until 1?
We need to start stripping it back down to the base.
It's your life and our advice.
Let me fix your life, not just your back porch.
All right, let's do it. First one, the Heartland. Eric in India. Oh, Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana.
Yeah, that would be.
Thanks for taking the call, guys.
Makes way more sense.
Hope, a lot more in the Heartland. Hope this thing happens between you two. I've got a question about my buddy.
Okay.
He had a crush on a girl way back in the day. She's gotten married, had kids, but recently become widowed. And now I think there's some mutual interest, and he's not sure how to play it. I have no idea how to support the guy. Thoughts?
Wow. All right, so widowed.
Is this that fake I have a buddy thing? Is this about you? Just
No,
oh,
no,
okay.
100% not.
I mean, do you not want to support him? I mean, it's not like he's necessarily doing anything wrong here. She probably could use a friend at this point. And if they're both interested in each other, he could actually provide an incredibly supportive role. So I would support him on his support.
I don't see any red flags. I don't see any red lights, no red flags. What's the problem?
Love my guy, but not really in the most prominent position in life. She has a bunch of kids.
Oh.
Just, well-being of everybody involved kind of thing.
Okay, but here's the thing. Is he going to be into it and be bad at being supportive, or is he going to be supportive for like a few weeks and then bounce?
No, he's a committed guy.
All right, then yeah. I think you let him do it. You let him try to figure this one out. It sounds like the intentions are actually good and not terrible, which is usually most of our calls. So I'd say you'd support him, and if it's a disaster, it's a disaster.
And if it's mutual, hey man.
Yeah.
It's love, not dollar signs.
Let's go to Jill in New Hampshire.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I have a 12-year-old nephew. He's completely obsessed with all things NBA, and he's coming to stay with me for 3 weeks. A little over a month ago, he told me to listen to this show so I get some knowledge, so we could have things to talk about. But I haven't really been paying that much attention, to be honest with you. So I was wondering, is there some place I can go to, just find basic information? I don't need to be the coolest aunt on the planet, but I don't want to be the lamest either when I have him for 3 weeks.
So you're saying, it sounds like you're saying a bunch of different things, but the thing that kind of sticks out to me is that the show hasn't helped you, or is it just you don't retain any of it, or it's just not interesting enough for anything to be retained? How have we not been able to, today of all days?
He's trying to get over the personal insult.
Yeah, Jill.
No, it's an interesting show. I just listen to it in between when I teach classes and that, so I'm not, there with the whole show. And I've never even been to a basketball game before.
She's looking for a Cliff's Notes.
Don't have any knowledge.
Hey, do this. Why don't you do this? Tape one of the older NBA games. Find it. It could be on NBA TV, or I don't think we're going to have any up. But find one of the old classic games and tape it on the DVR and sit down and watch it with him and be like, this is Jordan playing in the playoffs. This is Bird going up against Magic. This is Iverson, a Kobe game. And sit down and be like, hey, I want to watch this with you, and have him explain it to you so he's super engaged and he feels like he's teaching you, as opposed to you having the pressure of trying to keep up with him. Because you know what? You can't cram for this. This is a lifestyle, Jill.
Okay, thank you very much.
I was going to tell Jill what I do every day.
What was that?
How you go into a situation not knowing much but pull it off like you actually know everything.
Perfect. Okay, Jackie in Pittsburgh.
Hey, dudes. How's it going?
Super, dude.
I love this segment, and I need some advice. So I got this buddy that's getting married at the end of the summer, and I'm going to be the best man. The bugaboo is me and our other buddy don't like her one bit. The girl literally hates anything that's related to fun. And the other thing is, based on some of my buddy who's getting married, his actions, if you kind of get my drift, I'm not sure if he's sold on her either. And so what I need to know is, A, should I say anything to my buddy? And B, what do I say in this best man speech, given how I feel about her? Because I'm not trying to be too funny.
I'm hot. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. You cool with this? I'm direct personal experience. I'm asking Ryan. I'm asking Ryan because here's the thing, man. I know about this situation, and you got a tough decision because it breaks one of two ways, right? If you do this and you tell him, "Hey, got a secret for you. She stinks, and we all think so." That's a friendship ender. It's over between you and him if he doesn't jump on board with you, and the odds of him jumping on board with you are super low. He's already asked her to marry him. So you got to decide this. Is your friendship worth the gamble of saving this for your friend? Do you feel so strongly that it's that bad for him that you're willing to risk the existence of the friendship on that fact?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been friends with him for 20 years, so I don't really want to throw that away, but I totally get what you're saying.
I've gone both ways, by the way, Jackie. I've seen friendships end over this fact, and I've seen friends just suffer through bad marriages with their friends.
Yeah.
I just feel like don't be accurate during the speech.
Oh, that part you got to lie on. I forgot. Yeah.
Just it's a speech, man. You kind of know why you're there. Like, all right, you know me. I'm no phony. So let's lay it all out.
She's the best,
Dave. All right, let's go to Mike in Silicon Valley. Mike, are you into tech? Do you know Kevin Durant?
Yeah. I actually work with Kevin Durant.
That's awesome.
And he gets yeah. So anyway, I'm doing pretty well. I'm making it. I'm kind of crushing it out here. And I met this chick.
How much? What's your salary?
$150.
Nice. Rent out there? That's like $75 in Hartford.
Yeah, pretty much minimum wage. Anyway, so I do pretty well out here. I met this chick. I kind of really like her. And she's going to Spain for a week. We were supposed to hang out today before she left. And then she cancels on me last minute. And I'm kind of like, okay, do I just... And this is kind of like the second time in the past week. I'm kind of like, all right, well, I got a lot of options. Do I just wait it out till she gets back, or do I just kind of pivot and move on?
I would make up a fake Instagram account, load it up with about 12 fake pics, maybe some ab stuff, maybe something overseas. Your name's going to be Chuck Yeager, and you're going to DM her, and you're going to ask her what her deal is, and depending on how she responds to that, you're going to have your answer. Because it sounds a little shady. Nice. It sounds a little shady before a holiday weekend that she already had to bounce. Did she tell you what she was doing this holiday weekend, or did she kind of give you some vague stuff?
Yeah. Nah, she told me she was like going to Italy with like her friend for their 30th birthday party, whatever. She told me that a while ago she was going.
All right. Well, just stalk her Instagram for a bit. You'll figure it out. And I would make up a fake account. That help? You seem to be...
No, I was just letting you take that one.
You like that one?
I do. I think that was good advice.
Okay, last one, Fred in San Antonio.
Hey, guys, love the show. Got a little bit of a dilemma. Got some shirts in my closet that I love these shirts. They're not tattered. They're not frayed.
Robert
they're not
Graham's?
stained. They're all Tommy Bahama.
Nah.
Great shirt.
Even nicer.
But my wife says they're too old. What's
She's
the longest you can have a shirt, and what's the longest you can have an event shirt, like a golf shirt with a date on it?
Ooh, great question.
It is a great question.
It's very specific. That might be the most specific question ever asked in the history
of life. The first
one,
the answer is there is no expiration date on it. Like you can keep the shirt as long as you like it and you feel like it's still in style. Like, but the second one, when it's like externally dated, that's a good question. What do you think? I mean, we got to spitball this. I mean, is it 5 years? Is it what kind of shirt?
What you need to do is you need to ride it out that decade where it's not cool. And then when you have it, like I still have a Cowboy Up shirt from 2004, and I held on to it forever, and I refused to throw it away. Now it's killer again.
2004? Definitely if you have something that says something 1990-something, that's cool now, right?
Yeah, right. So just put them in a time capsule.
But if you're rocking 2009 right now?
Not cool.
Right. Is 2013 cool? Is that too old?
That's probably even less cool than 2009. That's how this works, I think. But don't throw them away.
So your sweet spot window is if it's more than 3 to 4 years old, it's out until it gets to be about 20, 15 to 20.
You got any Limp Bizkit hoodies? Crack them open. That was life advice. All of our guests on the show, Pennzoil Performance Line, even the ones you've never heard of before. Will Cain with us. The Russillo Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. We did a little Alamo breakdown for you kids that haven't had a history lesson today. And we're still not sure what the numbers are, but Will Cain's going to help us.
Oh, I got it wrong. I need to fix that.
Oh, you do? Retraction?
That was, I mean.
I put you in a tough spot. I started asking for like death toll numbers, survivors, Alamo on the spot.
Right.
And that's not fair.
Right.
Like I know a lot about the Mayflower. I couldn't break down the numbers right now. I know it wasn't a great boat trip. It's ESPN Radio. We had John McEnroe on in the middle of the show. We talked a little bit about what we had been talking about on Tuesday's show, and that is, did McEnroe say something bad? Was it a bad question? Should he have handled it differently? I'll tell you as a guy that asks questions for a living and is asked questions kind of for a living because you'll do radio hits all the time. Will Cain with us, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. If you don't, I don't think anybody would say that the question asked to McEnroe was all that great because I thought that the girl from NPR was trying to get him to say like, "Hey, just say she's the best player in the world," and McEnroe was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, no, like that's how I heard it. That's how I read it when I first, and then I went back and listened to it. But a lot of people are doing you then just tell her it's a bad question. Like somehow it's McEnroe's fault for not correcting the interviewer. In the moment, we are so not that person. We are so much better after the fact. Oh, you should have done this. Should have done that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, think how many times you've been and done some phoner or you're sitting there. And granted, you and I ask people more questions. There are plenty of questions where I ask. I go, I kind of wish I'd handled that better or crafted it differently. But to in the moment go, McEnroe should have known better and not answered or corrected. And he's like, I'm just sitting here talking.
He's not exactly a filtered guy anyway. He's not a guy that dodges something anyway. This is what he does. You ask, I'm going to tell you.
Right, and it was kind of in the moment where you go, what? Huh? Best? Like, what do you ask? Are you like best, you mean? Yeah, though, that's not what and then it's on him.
Right.
We are really weird with how we assess blame. And for those, I'll even give you, if you think McEnroe's a jerk for his answer, fine. Okay, I'll even give you that one. We can disagree. That it's his fault for not correcting the interviewer, that's insane. All right, the Russillo Show. So if you want to go back and listen to us talk with McEnroe about that and tennis in general, subscribe to our Best of podcast, available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or on Apple Podcasts. Will Cain and the Alamo. Go.
Previously on the Ryen Russillo Show.
Are there any other Alamo facts that you think we need to know?
Well, what do you want to know? 13 days. Santa Ana overran them. I mean, William Barrett Travis was in charge. Davy Crockett, he died there. Jim Bowie. Bunch of heroes.
How many people were left? Did anyone make it?
One guy, supposedly,
right?
But this is somewhat rumored that Travis drew a line in the sand with his sword and said anybody who wants to leave can, and only one opted to. One man did not cross that line, and he was sent out to say, tell everyone what happened here.
That's some gangster stuff right there.
We have to take Texas history 1 year.
You should. I took Vermont history.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't know there was such a thing.
2 credits.
I got a few things wrong.
Okay. Follow up.
It wasn't in that clip. I said 300 some odd died. The estimates are between 180 and 257, according to Wikipedia.
Okay.
Not that far off.
Not terrible.
There were
good news.
A lot of this is rumored. It was 1836.
Yeah.
Couple survivors, 4 or 5 survivors. They were executed. So are they survivors? They did surrender. Then they were executed. And
doesn't sound like survivor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And non-combatants. There were non-combatants
that survived
in the Alamo that were spared. Yes, wives, children, that kind of thing.
So this whole thing with the line in the sand and this guy
that happened. Well, also that's kind of rumored too.
Legend has it.
Legend does have it. Yep. So in the middle of CP3 being traded to the Houston Rockets and Phil Jackson being fired, that's your moment of zen, of Texas history.
How Kilborn used to do that at the end of his TV show?
Exactly.
The moment of zen?
Exactly. How Kilborn used to do it.
We asked for Kilborn a while ago, and they said, pass, but huge fan. Like, who's the huge fan? Is it Kilborn? Because that'd be great. That'd make me feel good.
You know him?
No, I've never met Craig Kilborn. Was obsessed with him when I was younger. Obsessed. Favorite guy here. Not even close. No offense. No offense to anybody else. Just, so we were like, hey, let's get him on. Let's talk.
Second favorite guy here.
Larry Beal.
Saw Larry Beal.
Yeah.
In Oakland.
Oaktown.
Yep.
Okay, we have breaking news. Tonight is Mikey C Day, Yard Goats. If you can get to Hartford, get there now. If you're in New York City, you can make it. 7:05 is your first pitch, and Mikey C's throwing it out. He's going to sing Take Me Out to the Ballpark as well. I don't know which inning that. Usually that would be the 7th inning stretch, I imagine. They don't do it different in Hartford. We have the picture, though, because if you didn't know and you don't know who Outsider is, he's getting ready for his big day, and yesterday he went to open the hood of his car because his car broke down, and as he opened the hood, his radiator blew fluid all over his arm and second-degree burns on his arm, his pitching arm, So he now has bandages on it after going to the hospital, and his uncle has to drop him off at the park tonight because his car doesn't work. He has no car. He's going to throw it out, burn marks, and yes, he is 40. And, ladies, still single.